I'm swatching various kinds of fisherman's rib today, and I thought you might like to see how it works. We're starting with regular rib. I've already got the comb hung and the cast on done. Both beds are set with the regular knitting key. Fisherman's rib can also be described as tuck rib, which helps you understand how to set it. This symbol, this key, causes tucking on the needles. This key causes every other row to knit. So if I depress them together, we're going to tuck every other row and knit off the alternate rows. The same is true on this bed. So first I think I'd like to try what's called half fisherman's rib, or sometimes English rib. I'm going to leave the main bed doing stockinette, so we'll go back to that key, and only depress the two keys on the front bed and knit a few rows. I'm going to go ahead and knit about 20 rows so there's enough for you to see what's happening. Looking down, find a tool that will allow me to lift this stitch. Can you see that there is a stitch on the tool as well as a loop of yarn on the tool? So the second one, the loop of yarn, is where it's tucking. Let's replace them and do a few more rows. Now I'm going to change to full fisherman's rib. Let's come over here where you can see, by depressing the tuck and circular buttons on the second bed. The front bed stays as it is. What I've been finding is that one has to be especially careful that the edges knit off when you're doing full fisherman's rib, which is what this is called. So I'm going to hang my weighted fork. If you need to make some of these, they are in my book, Cool Tools and Cheap Tricks for Machine Knitters. So that's hung on the edge that has given me the most trouble historically. In the course of my swatching, I did this several times, so my swatch is longer than what you saw me knit. Here's a good section to look at. This is regular knit one, purl one rib, this section right here. When I switched to half fisherman's rib, the fabric got significantly wider. Here we are at full fisherman's rib, and it's wider still. And then back to regular ribbing, it narrowed up. At this point, I wanted to compare stockinette width to half fisherman's rib width, because I've got a project in mind that might require that. So here's the stockinette. I'd been knitting all my ribbing at stitch size 4/4, but I changed to 5 for stockinette with this yarn. In fact, this is a composite of 2 strands of very thin yarn. There you can see it. Not very well. Let me fix that for you. That's what I'm knitting with. So there's the stockinette, and I would say that this does knit well at about stitch size 5. And we want to compare it to the width of the half fisherman's rib. And this is what I hoped. They're similar. So I can combine them in a design without a lot of adjustment. Same number of total needles in use. But when we go back to full fisherman's rib, it expands quite a bit again, as all versions of tuck stitch tend to do. It's just a matter of how much. So in both cases, alternate rows are tucking. But in this case, that's happening on one bed only. And on a Superba, you can do that on either bed. And in this case, it's happening on both beds. If I'd done more than the 20 rows you're looking at, it would expand even farther because it wouldn't be constrained at the top and the bottom Although this gives me an idea for a pumpkin bookmark. That might be something to work on. Anyway, that is English rib or half fisherman's rib, otherwise known as single-sided fisherman's rib in the Superba manual. Two-sided fisherman's rib, sometimes called double English rib, occasionally double tuck rib, regular 1x1 ribbing.